So there was a kid, he went viral because he said that Jim Jones was better than Nas on a separate podcast, right? And I totally understood where the kid was coming from, because you got to understand, we grew up in a different era, right? I grew up in the 90s and early 2000s. That's when I was really into rap music. That's when I feel the golden era of rap music was. And that kid doesn't know any of that because he's 21 years old, right? I'll give you a perfect example, right? Glizzy, who are your top 3 favorite rappers of all time?
XXX Tentacion, NBA Youngboy, Fetty Wap.
You see what I'm talking about? He totally went over Biggie, Tupac, DMX, Jay-Z, Nas. Like, these are iconic people with iconic catalogs, you know, that influenced all those guys that you're talking about one way or another. Now, Fat Joe and Jadakiss had Jim Jones on their podcast, and he basically said that he was better than Nas, and he went viral for that. Everybody was criticizing Jim Jones about it because, you know, Jim Jones and Nas, I believe Jim Jones might be a little younger than Nas by a couple of years. But Jim Jones said, you know, Nas influenced me. Like, when I was in school, I looked up to Nas, and he influenced me. You know, and I think Jim Jones doesn't get enough credit for what he's doing, right? Because he's like 48 years old, and the kids still listen to him. He's still relevant, you know? And I went back into his catalog, and I was listening to it, like, in the gym, and it's wavy. It's good music, you know? You know, people were saying it was blasphemous that he said he was better than Nas, but you got to understand that he's a rapper.
I think there's a difference, right? So I could respect people like Biggie, Tupac, but am I listening to their music on my day-to-day life? No. So, like, usually when I go to my top favorite rappers, I'll go, yo, who am I going to listen to if someone gives me the phone? And those are the people I'm going to pick. You know what I mean? You know, at the time.
But if you ask any boxer who's the best boxer to ever live, they're going to say, I am. Right?
Exactly.
If you ask a rapper who's the nicest rapper that ever lived, he's going to say me. So, you know, you shouldn't hold Jim Jones to the fire for that, because if he would have said other rappers, then he would be downplaying who he is.
Yeah, he's downplaying himself.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, shout out to Jim Jones for saying that. A lot of people got butthurt, but that's what it is, bro.